We're still live on political paradigm, I beg your pardon. My guest is former governorship aspirant in Imo State, Honorable Uche Nwosu. Honorable, welcome to Political Paradigm.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's nice to see you.
Thank you.
I say that even though I feel as though you've quit politics. What's going on?
I haven't quit politics, but for right now, I'm more concentrated in my leadership center, where I do my own quota and then support young people and women. I believe that everything should not be left for government alone. We're doing our best. We're supporting young people in our leadership center, where we empower them with cash and then with their talent, and then so that they can also contribute their quota to the community.
One political move to be governor of Imo State, and now you're not. You're focused on something else. Is there a problem? Is there something? Have you always been interested in politics? Or were you influenced by former Governor Senator Rochas Okorocha, who is your father-in-law, by the way?
Anyway, I've never been influenced by Owole Rochas Okorocha, who was my father-in-law, but I also want to appreciate him for bringing me up to where I am politically today. I started my politics right from my secondary school when I was a timekeeper, and then sanitary prefect, then went to the university, became the director of transport of the Students' Union Government, became also the secretary of the Students' Union Government and the secretary of NANS Zone B, the NANS Imo State chapter, and then having myself into Deputy Chief of Staff, Commissioner for Land, and Chief of Staff, and then ran for the governorship of Imo State. What it means is that nobody influenced me, but just that my father-in-law, Owole Rochas Okorocha, was there to guide me to where I am in the national politics today.
But you went through a lot. You went through a lot in this, in your political ambition to be governor. And I like to think that till this moment, you may still be going through that. So, but do you believe that you've healed through that?
Yeah, I'm fine. I've healed. You know, one thing in life is that there's a time you forget about the past and move forward and think about future. Because nobody ever think about future and then looking at your back. So whatever that has done or whatever that has happened. So what we're talking about now is what the future holds for me and my friends and then my political supporters. So I don't think about whatever that happened before. And whatever that happened, I've forgotten it and I'm moving ahead.
But have you been fairly treated at the state and local government level since you returned to the APC?
I don't understand what you mean by fairly treated.
Are you comfortable? Are you at home with the APC?
Yes,
especially at the state level.
Yes, I'm in APC. You know, sometimes people think that it's only when you are given an appointment or you are being recognized or the party leaders come to your house. And no, it does. I'm at home with APC.
You know, being a member of the party is one thing, but considering who leads the party at the state level, the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodimma, with whom you have an interest in history, can you confidently say that you're comfortable as an APC member in Imo State?
Of course, I'm comfortable as an APC member in Imo State. Like I told you, whatever that happened before now, I've forgotten it. Now he's the leader of the APC in the state, and then all of us will respect him also as the leader of the APC in the state.
Why are you not on the ballot for the election? Why did you
for this election?
For the coming election?
I decided not to run for election this particular season based on I'm going through some courses. You know that at a time in man's life, you need to also acquire more knowledge and then look at the mistakes you have made before now and then correct them and get ready. But I have not quit politics. But I have some things that I'm doing that will keep me busy for the next 4 years before I will bounce back.
So you are preparing for that office again in 4 years?
If God keeps us alive.
But with the forthcoming election, the APC has held sway in your state for quite a while, but let's look at the past 3 years plus under Governor Hope Uzodimma. Are you confident that the APC will win the election that will hold on the 11th of November?
I don't have any doubt that my party is going to lose election in Imo State. Based on what the governor has done on roads and also some things he has done. So is my party. Nobody ever wants to wish his party to lose in the state. One particular thing you have to know is that no matter how bad it is, your party member is better than opposition. Until you see an opposition win your state, you now know that it is better for your party to win than to allow opposition to win in your state.
But does it look like the opposition will not win? I mean, look at the general elections.
Of course, I would never support that opposition should take over my state.
I know, but I mean,
if you
look
take
at
over
the,
my state, that means
I mean, look at the numbers. Look at the general election and the recently concluded, the results from the recently concluded general elections and how the Labour Party performed.
No, when you look at it, let me tell you one thing. During the presidential election, it was a different game altogether. And during the Houses of Assembly and governorship election, it's a different thing altogether. You come to some states, during presidential election, Labour won. Okay, look at Lagos, for example. During presidential election, Lagos won, Labour won Lagos, Labour won in Nasarawa, and Labour won in Plateau. But governorship election, PDP won in Plateau, APC won in Lagos, and APC won in Nasarawa. So it is not the same thing. What people think about now is individual. You know, I keep telling people that political parties is a machinery upon which or a machine or a vehicle that you use to get to your destination. But now, even after you even using that vehicle, people look at individual. Who is that person? Is the person credible enough to deliver this party? And that's what political parties should look at. The person that you're giving your ticket, does he have that credibility, that integrity, that force to win election for the party? So it is not about party, it's about individual.
But you see that while you mentioned some states where the Labour Party won the presidential election but did not win the governorship election, Imo State has not been tested for the governorship election. But with regard to governorship elections, look at Abia State. See what happened there. The Labour Party won that. And there are perceptions that it's a tsunami across the southeast. You could also see that play out in the results from the National Assembly, State House of Assembly elections as well. So are you confident about this, the chances of the APC with regards to what the Governor Hope Uzodinma has done? And I say that because of what seems like a perception of some residents of Imo State. You know, Governor Hope Uzodinma had initially struggled to gain the attention of the people, the love of the people, considering how he emerged as winner of the state.
When you look at what matters is what you are giving to the people. After election, after winning election, politics end. The next thing is to deliver dividends of democracy to the people. And looking at Imo State on roads, I can vividly tell you that there are roads in the states that the governor has done. So if I'm the governor, I will leverage on what I have done to campaign and to deliver to what I have done, like the roads, to campaign and let the people know what I have done. Yes, you might say that there might be mistake in one word. There is no government that doesn't have mistakes. Nobody lives without making mistakes. But the problem is that when there are mistakes, you come back and correct it and move ahead. But you cannot tell me there is no state or no president that have never been a president without making mistakes. Definitely you must make mistakes. We are not God. But the thing is that after making that mistake, you turn around, correct them, and move ahead.
You know, I think it's interesting to hear you speak so well of Governor Hope Uzodinma considering your history. So let me ask you this. Is your position based on your loyalty to the party, or you believe that the governor has really done well in the state? And in what areas, beyond the roads that you mentioned?
I am not, I'm not the governor's appointee, but he's a member of my party. I'm talking as a party member, as a member of APC. So maybe the governor will send his commissioners or the person that will speak for him to tell you the area he has done well. But as a member of the party, I wouldn't come and then talk bad about my party. That is not being a party.
So clearly your loyalty, your primary
yes, of course.
is to the party. Now, we find that the Independent National Electoral Commission is gearing up for the November 11 elections and is reviewing the general elections and trying to understand where it made errors. Are you as confident of the abilities of the Independent National Electoral Commission going into the election as you were perhaps before the general elections?
Although there might be some mistakes that people and voters might have seen the independent electoral commission made during the election, like the issue of beavers, the issue of not coming in time, the issue of transmission. But I believe that the INEC chairman and his members should be able to have corrected that mistakes. I believe that why we make mistakes is for us to make corrections. So when you look at the last election, the general election, both the presidential and the governorship election, there are areas that mistakes were made. What the INEC need to do now is to correct those mistakes, believing that in those states like Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa, they are going to have a credible election, being straight, not being partisan in their conduct.
But there are those who don't believe that the INEC chairman, or INEC as it stands now, is in a position to conduct a very good election, or elections come November 11. And the reason is because of the fallout of the 2023 general elections. In fact, some say he should be relieved of his position.
Yeah, like I said earlier on, you make mistakes and you correct your mistakes. If the INEC chairman had made mistakes in some areas, what we need to do is to tell him to his face, Mr. Chairman, in some areas you made a mistakes. Like I said earlier on, the issue of transmission of results, which most people expected and it didn't work. And then the issue of INEC officials coming late, and then the issue of logistics. It was a mistake. They are all human. But the thing we need to do now is to tell him, like the NGOs, they need to tell him, look, Mr. Chairman, this mistake, we plead that we don't want to see it again. We want our results to be counted, and we want your INEC official, the transportation issues, there are no transport, no security. These are the things we need to talk about before the election. But sitting at home and saying, no, we don't. Do you know the person that is coming, whether he will be worse than him?
Mr. Nwosu, let's talk about the security situation in your state now. I know that you still travel to the States. Do you feel like there's an improvement in the security situation in Imo State?
Issue of security, it is not something you would want to hand over to, or say you're leaving it to the government. I should be part of also securing my own compound by letting the security agencies and the people know that so person is a criminal we have in the society. I don't believe that when it comes to the issue of security, we should allow government alone to do it. What government should do is constant stakeholders meeting, community by community, sensitizing them. Because if you're a governor, you can't be in all the community and all the villages. It takes the traditional rulers, it takes the community to know who is bad in that community. So when you come to security, I believe it's not something you wake up and say, hey, this happened. Why did it happen? There is a problem in Maiduguri. The governor or the president should be blamed for this. No, you don't blame. You also, when you are blaming the governor or the president, you're also blaming yourself, because we need to work together for us to have a secure state and to secure the government.
But regardless, you know that the primary responsibility of government is to secure the lives and property of the citizens. So that's why I'm asking you if the government has done well enough to improve the security situation in the state. And I ask this because I recall that I think about a month ago, former Governor Uche had said that he would be willing to lend his voice or support to the governor in whatever way to help address the security situation in the state. So is there improvement?
Yes, that's the area I'm going. Like I said earlier on, the government of the day, whether it be the state or federal, need the support of the stakeholders. Like you said, the former governor of the state, Nwosu, said he's ready to help out if there is any way his support or his advice can come in to quell the security situation in the state. It's not only Imo State. In Plateau, many young people and women and elderly people were killed. In Benue, the same thing. So the issue is that what can we do to stop this? I'm happy with the meeting held by Ohaneze the other day on the issue of trying to see how we can quell the situation. And I give applause to the Southeast governors for doing this with our stakeholders. how do we stop this? How do we stop this is bringing stakeholders, like the former governor of Imo State said, that he's ready to come in. Look at those people that are people that you think that they have a stake in the state. Bring them together. Gentlemen, this state belongs to us. This state, whether you like it or not, one day I will be a former governor. Like you are a former governor. Let's sit together and see how we can solve the security situation in the state. Not leaving it for me as a governor and think that because I'm a governor, let's leave it for me. Because tomorrow, you still come back to the state. So what Senator Rochas, former governor of Imo State, Senator Rochas said is right. And I believe that the governor of Imo State, who I think will also go ahead in doing that by calling stakeholders meeting and meeting with them constantly in order for us to solve any security situation in the state.
Let's talk some national politics now. Your party seems to have just come off what many see as a mini crisis, the resignation of the chairman and secretary. And I recall that you had advised, the party leaders to tread cautiously so that they avoid inflating the crisis in the party. That was during the time of May Mala Buni, and now this has now come to happen. Does it appear to you that your party has not made much progress in addressing the crisis, internal crisis of the party in the past, perhaps 1 year or two?
I wouldn't say, Ahmed Bola Tinubu is a new president, and you cannot compare Ahmed Bola Tinubu with the past President Muhammad Buhari. When you look at President Muhammad Buhari, he's somebody that always wants to allow party to do their own things, even though he's the leader of the party. Sometimes as a leader, you need to come and put your feet on the ground and make sure that the right thing is done because of interest. Like you heard from the APC Governors Forum led by Senator Hope Uzodinma, that the chairman willingly left and the national secretary willingly left, that there was no problem between them and the party. Sometimes it's only in Africa and in our country that you see when somebody resigns, it becomes that the person was booted out of office. But when you go to foreign countries, somebody can wake up one day and say, look, man, I'm tired, I'm not doing again.
With a reason.
But with a reason.
What was the reason of the national chairman and the secretary?
No reason. He said he's done, that he cannot continue. Was there any other reason?
But this came amid speculations.
Yes.
And sort of indictments, yes, which the party is trying to address right now. So it doesn't really appear as though it was a situation that had been, just carefully thought out. I recall as well that when he emerged as national chairman, you advised him and the rest of the National Working Committee not to take sides with any faction.
Yes.
Apparently, he had mentioned somebody, Senator Ahmed Lawan, as choice, which seemed like a side he had taken. So some assume right now that he's been consumed by the choices.
Okay, now I come. As a party chairman, I don't understand why a national chairman should pick a candidate, should pick somebody as a choice of the party when no primary or no even consensus has reached on the primary. That was the greatest mistake the national chairman made, was going to pick a particular person and telling the people, this is the man that will be our presidential candidate. It's not done. You have Ahmed Ashwaju Bola Tinubu there, you have Rotimi Amechi, you have Owole Rochas Okorocha, you have so many of them, you have Yemi Osibanjo. You decided to bring in somebody. That is where his problem started. But not that because he brought out Ahmed Lawal, that is why he was booted out. There are so many people that supported Ahmed Lawal, but they are still working with the president. So I believe that the president is not somebody that would want to witch hunt anybody. A lot of people work with Ahmed, a lot of people work with Amechi, a lot of people work with Owole Rochas Okorocha, a lot of people work with Osibanjo. But you can see all of them in his government working with him, and some of them even went to campaign with him. So the chairman resigning is left for him. Probably at his age, he might be thinking that he wants to go home and rest. The same thing with the national secretary. But I believe that which office you occupy yourself, you should be able to stand straight and do the right thing. That singular thing he did without going to convention, singled out somebody to be the candidate of the party is not good for a leader and as a chairman of the party, because as a chairman, you have so many as sons and daughters. So allow your children to say, Daddy, this is who we want.
So we're rounding up now. We're almost done. But it's become important to speak to just about everyone I have on the show on the state of the nation, considering the living condition of Nigerians. And it's based on the policies of the present administration, which is quite young. And while some believe that these are really commendable policies that Nigerians must sacrifice, it is also good to understand what the government would do to sort of alleviate from cutting down the cost of governance and sort of helping businesses and individuals at certain level to survive these policies. What are your thoughts on this, and what would you advise the government?
When the issue of the palliative, the 8,000 came up, I was one of those people that suggested that this money is small, although it was 5,000 before now. During President Muhammad Buhari, it was 5,000, and the president increased it to 8,000. I suggested that instead of having this 8,000, why don't we increase it to 30,000? But remember, it's a short-time measure. It's not a long-time measure. Why giving them this money? Because if you give somebody 8,000 naira, it's money for chicken and then suya and food outside. Some even say, like people in the rural area, you transfer 8,000. Remember, they have to use transport. Some of them don't have that bank in their community. They have to transport themselves back to their village, go to and collect the money from the bank, charges. By the time they go and come back, 5,000 is gone. So they have little, like 3,000. So why don't we give them 30,000? But issue of palliative is a short-time measure. Next time, if I will advise Mr. President, next time we're going to borrow, let us borrow to repair our refineries, and let us borrow to build factories and industry where these young people can be employed, where these women can be employed, where we have things running. You can be surprised. You imagine that in all the oil-producing countries, it's only Nigeria that does not have working refinery. All the other countries, they have working refinery. Why don't we repair our refinery and produce this diesel and fuel and all these ourselves, so that we don't need to go outside and then start buying and then start putting our masses into problems? So the issue of our refinery should be our priority if the president must get things right. And last, power. Power. If Mr. President, in fact, if I'm Mr. President, if I take the issue of power as my one-point agenda, I make sure that Nigerians have 24-hour power, it has solved the issue of unemployment, it has solved the issue of factories and industries dying and leaving this country. It has solved a lot of problems for this nation.
I'd like to thank you very much for your time here, Uche Nwosu. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
And let's wait and see what happens in 4 years as you prepare for, as you said, you will prepare it.
Thank you.
I've been speaking with Mr. Uche Nwosu, he's a former governorship aspirant in Imo State. And that's all the time we have today on Political Paradigm. I thank you as well for your time, and remind you that you can go to YouTube or Channels TV and catch this episode and others. My name is Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.